Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from Madison Realty Capital, New York Community Bank, M&T Bank, AmTrust Title, Ariel Property Advisors, Customers Bank, Capital One Bank, Meridian Capital Group. Additional funding has been provided by grants from AVR Realty Company, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Briarwood Organization, CBRE, Citizens Bank, Colliers International NYC, Collins Building Services, CPEX Real Estate Services, Douglaston Development Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handler Real Estate Organization Handro Properties, Hodges Ward Elliott INC, Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, John Castamatidis Red Apple Group, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Matone Group, Mercantile Bank, Newmark Knight Frank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rockefeller Group, Rosewood Realty Group, SJP Properties, Stonehenge NYC, TD Bank, Terra CRG, the Merengoff Family Foundation, the Moynihan Organization, Moynihan Capital Partners, and these friends. It's the Bronx. It's the home of the Yankees. It's home of the New York City soccer team. It's the home of lots of retail. It's a neighborhood that is changing each and every day. So today I've assembled this group of 3 dynamic individuals who are very active in the Bronx to provide their insight on what's happening in the Bronx. My guests today include Jason Gold, Director of Investments for Ariel Property Advisors, and also specifically involved with the Bronx. Daren Hornig, who is the Principal Managing Director at Hornig Capital Partners, rather active in the Bronx. And last but not least, the Director of Development and the General Counsel at the Briarwood Organization, Ira Brown. So you've been involved for how many years in the Bronx, Ira?
Well, as an attorney, I'm practicing for 30 some odd years, but in-house at Briarwood for 15 years. I think we've been up there basically 10
Would
years
you
or more.
say today there's much more development taking place in the Bronx than ever before? Or did we see a lot of it in the 2002, under Bloomberg's administration? Or what's happening today compared to that?
I think today you have much more volume and velocity than you had in the past.
What are you guys doing up today in the Bronx?
Well, we're various stages of finishing a number of projects where we had 500 units.
When we talk about 500 units, there's affordable workforce housing, there's market-rated housing. What are we talking about?
All of ours is affordable.
So who qualifies to be a renter in an apartment like that?
Well, if we use tax credits, generally it's 60% area median income or less. So it varies. If it's a studio, up to a 3-bedroom, how many people in the family, it's adjusted. But, it's well below market.
So a family could be renting a 1 or 2-bedroom apartment for $600, $700 a month.
That's quite possible, yes.
So here's the question to the investment sales expert, okay? You're selling property over there. People are planning to build market rate. Market rate, that 1-bedroom apartment or the 2-bedroom apartment that we just spoke about, they need to get $2,100 to $2,500. How is it accomplished? Who's buying and what's happening with regard to that?
We're seeing a lot more institutional capital come to the Bronx. You're seeing more people underwriting these deals at high 40s to $50 a square foot on a price per square foot basis for residential apartments. And you're really seeing it more in the South Bronx. along the Mott Haven, along the waterfront, where Brookfield recently bought, where Treetop is, where Hornig and Savannah are prime locations, close to transportation and close to Manhattan.
Let's talk about what you're doing specifically in the Bronx with regard to the industrial type of property and with regard to the new property that you're doing with St. Barnabas.
Sure. So we bought a warehouse at 2417 3rd Avenue and rebranded it as the Bruckner Building. It's right on Bruckner Boulevard and the 3rd Avenue Bridge, and really saw the opportunity of emerging artists moving to the neighborhood and things picking up, becoming a little hipster oriented. At the time, Keith Rubenstein had owned a lot of property around it that, as Jason said, Brookfield recently bought for a record price, over $150 a foot on just the land basis. That's prime real estate right on the river there.
Who was the tenant before you bought it?
It was a landlord that owned it for 30 years. It was literally a hodgepodge of different tenants, and the average rent was $10 a foot. We went in, we bought the building for $31 million, invested $10 million, upgraded new elevators, lobby, and now we're getting high 20s per square foot.
And who the tenancy, the type of tenancy?
We're seeing a few nonprofits, a lot more artists moving in, some technology and media companies. We're in discussions with a few food purveyors right now, because I think the key is Mott Haven's a little bit different. For whatever reason, when they designed the Deegan, it really created some sort of divider between the rest of the Bronx and the Mott Haven area. And its proximity to transportation and its proximity to Manhattan. It's only 100 yards over the 3rd Avenue Bridge, and you're in Manhattan. So I think that area is really going to be the first starting point of where the Bronx evolves to be truly market rate. Down the block, the clock tower was just redeveloped. They had some extra land, and they're already achieving mid to high 40s per rent on the market rate apartments there.
What did you see as the opportunities in the Bronx?
You know, when I look at opportunities, I really look at arbitrage, right? It's very easy to buy a offering memorandum and winning a bid, you pay the highest price. I, as a developer, look to find market arbitrage where I could buy something less than replacement cost or less than market. So the building we bought, the Bruckner Building, we bought that for $200 a square foot. So it was, I think, a very good buy, where land is trading there, as I said, right now for $150 a foot. Then you first have to build a building for another $400 a foot.
Let's talk about the St. Barnabas development that you're working on.
So St. Barnabas is interesting. I helped assemble the land for St. Barnabas, must be about 10 years ago. And through the Bloomberg administration, they rezoned the 3rd Avenue corridor. It was originally going to be a parking garage, and we saw the opportunity to build affordable housing. So I partnered with Ron Molis at L&M, and we went to St. Barnabas and said, we think there's a grander opportunity here to build housing. And we put forth the mission that we're building 450 units, 450,000 square feet, about 400 to 450 units of affordable housing. But it's coupled with medical and healthcare services. So we brought in Bronx Works, and they're putting in 50 formerly homeless housing people.
So they're going to be building supportive housing, as we call.
Exactly. 50,000 feet of ambulatory care and a 20,000 square foot rooftop farm. In addition, because our mandate is healthy living, we brought in a pharmacy, and we were talking to the larger pharmacies, which I won't name, and we demanded that they not sell tobacco products in the building. And we're also installing a teaching kitchen to teach the families in the neighborhood how to cook and prepare healthy food, as opposed to just going to a fast food place and picking up a high-calorie dinner.
So here's a question for all of you. A number of developments throughout the city, especially up in Harlem and certain parts of Brooklyn, have been developed with churches as their partners. Have you seen more churches? Have you seen investors looking at dealing with nonprofits to joint venture or partner up in the Bronx?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of development sites that are selling specifically for nonprofits, like the Briarwood organization, even though it's a for-profit organization, but nonprofits that are looking for development sites that are not really too much churches, but looking to build affordable and really hit the threshold that Mayor de Blasio put in.
Ariel, you?
Well, we work with not-for-profits, and in the last few years, we've focused on faith-based organizations, and we're working right now in various stages of development with a couple of churches.
Now, one of the areas that people don't realize, the Stella D'Oro site, which was converted into retail, the Bronx Industrial Market, which is the related property over there, there's a significant amount of retail in the Bronx, okay? Are retail rents rising up in the Bronx today?
Slowly. Retail in the Bronx is really on pedestrian count. So the high traffic corridors, Fordham Road area, for instance, 3rd Avenue by the hub, those areas have such high traffic count that pedestrians are going to buy and going to go into the stores. So on the well-trafficked corridors, you'll see rents rise. The problem is there's less retailers that want to be in these locations, so it's a supply and demand game.
Are we seeing more gyms today, or are we seeing different types of uses coming up into the Bronx?
Yeah, we're actually marketing 3 retail assets right now. That's a portfolio, could be bought individually, but one of them has a Blink Fitness on the 2nd floor that's anchored by Equinox. In addition to that, the ground floor you have Cohen Fashion Opticals and a yogurt store. It's right on the Grand Concourse. It's a major thoroughfare that Daren was saying. Another property was on Westchester and Southern Boulevard that gets a tremendous amount of foot traffic. And those retail corridors, you're seeing rents in around $75 to $100 a square foot at times.
Yeah, the rents on those corridors, they're pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Fordham Road is, as we were saying, is a very well-trafficked area, you know. Mm-hmm. And then people always hear about Arthur Avenue, which is a small subdivision, but it always keeps its business over there. Are we seeing foreign investors or other investors trying to go into the Bronx?
Yeah, over the past, I'd say 4 or 5 years, a lot of phone calls that are coming in are foreign investors as well as investors from the outer boroughs that are looking to start investing in the Bronx. And people that are looking to invest in the Bronx, they see the opportunity, but more importantly, they see the yield. They see the return that they're looking for their investors and their investment. What
about the Jerome Avenue rezoning? Any thoughts about that?
I think we're seeing it firsthand as well. I mean, we just put into a deal in contract on Jerome Avenue, which is probably the 2nd or 3rd one that will be selling. It's going to close at the end of the month. It's around $60 a buildable square foot. And the Jerome Avenue rezoning, I think, is helping a lot. It's helping to achieve the affordable housing that threshold that was set by the mayor and the borough president. But also, it's helping a lot of these owners that own these parking lots or these dealerships or these auto body shops, and it's increasing their value and seeing a value of their land that they've never dreamt about.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, because at $60 a foot, you almost can't do affordable housing. Right? Affordable housing needs to be right around the $30 a foot range in today's market.
Explain how an affordable housing developer builds at such a price, and that they can afford to give away rents at $600, $700 a month. What are the subsidies? What are the tax credits?
Well, first of all, in years past, the city had a tremendous land stock, especially the Bronx from the 70s, where there was, the Bronx was burning, all of that. The city had land. So the city would basically put in the land for virtually nothing. Then there would be public dollars that the city would put into the construction to subsidize the construction. The land is becoming less it's more scarce.
The city doesn't have that much land anymore.
Right, so that's why we have this model where we partner with not-for-profits that either have land, or churches that maybe have an older facility that they need rebuilt, but they don't have the economic support. So we go in, we joint venture with them. They would put in the land, we would put in all the other pre-development dollars, use tax credits, combinations of different layers of public money, and we would build a new facility for them and housing that's workforce affordable housing.
One of the great things about the Bronx is that it has really good, let's say, bones on the residential apartment buildings. As you were saying before, investors from different areas are coming into the Bronx. How are those apartment buildings trading today in the market?
I mean, the multifamily asset class has always been the leading class really throughout, I think, any borough. I mean, multifamily in the Bronx has been the spearhead for the past 10 years. I mean, multifamily right now is trading, depends where you are in the Bronx, but on average about 12.5 times multiple, as well as around the 5 cap. and you're looking at, which is record-setting, averaging 200,000 a unit, and just around $220 a square foot. So it's rents are going up in the Bronx. I mean, you have your thresholds that people are hitting, as well as the return that people are looking for.
What about the industrial? I mean, the Bruckner building, you've done a good job, put a lot of money into it, and as you say, it's very close to the city over the 3rd Avenue Bridge. And it's a unique territory, and it is, it has that grittiness, but the uniqueness. What about there are a number of other industrial buildings that people have been trying to convert, some of them not as lucky as you are for finding tenants. Do you think the industrial opportunities of conversion of the industrial to office is still prevalent and strong up in the Bronx?
It's interesting. When we bought the building, it was a manufacturing C of O. We have since changed it to be half office and half manufacturing. So it's not true industrial. What has changed over the last year is because industrial rents have gotten so high, truly pure industrial, such as the ABC conversion
By Prologix.
by Prologix, and they just leased it to Jet.com, which is a division of Walmart. It's a lot less expensive to outfit industrial space, and you're getting rents in the $20 a foot range. Now, you don't typically get the same loss factor, but if you can go in there and have space that the whole building is built and it's $150, $200 a foot, and get low 20s a foot, typically on a net basis.
That was a unique deal. You get over the Bruckner Expressway, you see a number of properties where there have been conversions, okay? A number of owners have felt that these buildings are going to be occupied, and they're not really catching tenancies yet.
The challenge, and I've seen this in Brooklyn and Queens as well, the larger companies, 20,000 square foot, typical office type users, are not rushing to the outer boroughs yet. You saw some demand in Dumbo when it initially launched. Williamsburg had a little, but Williamsburg's challenge right now to find those large users. And the Bronx is the same. We bought the Bruckner building, and our average tenant size is 2,500 square feet. So we have a lot of tenants in the building, and that's fine.
Which is good, because at least if one moves out, it's not going to change your world.
Right.
If a 50,000 square foot tenant moves out, then you have a big difficulty to change it.
You could count on one hand how many 50,000 foot deals are done in the Bronx a year, other than the city or government related services. It's just not the demands out there.
What about the storage business? I mean, because people need storage. I mean, the biggest problem that you have living in Manhattan is that you don't have storage. Do you see that as a potential opportunity?
The storage business is a great business. For one, people go in and they rarely ever leave, and the stored equipment or the stored bicycle or the stored lamp from your grandmother doesn't complain at night. And it doesn't need heat, doesn't need HVAC. So storage business is a great business. The de Blasio administration, though, pushed back, and anytime in an IBZ, you have to get a special permit now to even build storage. So they're slowing it down, but New York City overall has an under-storage capacity. Almost half the rest of the United States on storage ratio to apartment size.
Ira, do you think Briarwood ever will build market rate in the Bronx, or are you more geared to the affordable?
We're definitely geared to the affordable. We've been looking for market rate opportunities, I'd say, in the 4 boroughs. I think in getting back into that market rate realm, to get investors, to get banks to lend, I think Manhattan is more likely for somebody like ourselves before we would go to the Bronx, because of the fact that there's so much more demand for the product.
People forget that one of the nicest neighborhoods in the city of New York is called the Riverdale community up in the Bronx. The negative of Riverdale is the lack of public transportation over there. Riverdale has the opportunity of a lot of for sale co-ops, not condominiums, because the buildings were converted in the 80s and the 70s over there. Do you see any buildings being acquired up in the Riverdale area today for conversion to condominiums?
Riverdale is really its own animal. We don't really consider it the Bronx. But the trades that happen up there in Riverdale, I mean, you're seeing the metrics that are far far superior than the Bronx. I mean, you're seeing 13.5 times multiples in sub-5 caps. But you're seeing a lot of market rate and a lot of residential and single-family homes.
Do you see any new condo development in any part of the Bronx? I mean, because, you know, if you take an example of downtown Brooklyn, there was the residential rental. Subsequently, now there's some new condominium developments taking place. Same situation in Queens. I haven't seen a new condo development being, or any for sale, with the exception of, you know, City Island, let's say, or, you know, in certain parts of the Bronx. Are we seeing any opportunities out there?
Yeah, there's a Tahoe development is building right on 138th Street. They had plans to build market rate residential, and they changed their plans halfway through and changed it to 47-unit condominium buildings. And I believe they're selling for around $550, $575 a unit, all one bedrooms, right in the South Bronx on 138th Street.
Which is a low number when you think about what your land needs to be, your construction cost and your soft costs.
Right.
But their basis is probably, you know, $20 a foot. Right.
When you're looking at that at $575, you're talking about a person has the opportunity of home ownership at a reasonable price. Also, the real estate taxes are reasonable. So even though we have limitations under the presidential tax bill, you could be able to get your real estate taxes included in the $10,000 limitation over there. What's the best opportunity if somebody went to the Bronx?
I think Parkchester is a market that has always been very active and high in demand for multifamily assets. It's a very residential neighborhood, a lot of single-family homes as well, but it's more of a suburban sector of the Bronx. If you go towards Highbridge, where Yankee Stadium is, there's been a lot of activity and a lot of transactions happening there in the past 2-3 years. High in demand for multifamily, but the tenant base is a little different, and it's rolling up your sleeves and getting a little going to work really in the hybrid section. But it's picking up, and there's still a lot of opportunity because it's going back to transportation. It's the proximity to transportation right there is you're about 5 stops away from Manhattan.
What about the office market? I mean, Joe Simone built a number of office developments in the Bronx, in addition to some retail opportunities. Do you see, you know, you were saying before about you don't see more tenants taking more than 20,000 square foot of space in the industrial. Do you see an opportunity for a small amount of office properties?
I think in the right location, yes. But it's where the jobs are. You know, who is the CEO or owner of that company who's making a decision to go to the Bronx? You know, part of the benefit of the Bronx right now, and a lot of the boroughs, is the REAP. The REAP benefits where employers get a $3,000 per employee tax deduction if they relocate from Manhattan south of 96th Street.
Right.
So you're starting to see people looking at that because that's real dollars. You know, if you look at how many people occupy space, if you put 5 people in per 1,000, right? 5 people at $3,000.
Cuts your rent out by $10 to $12 a foot.
Exactly. So from a $29 rent, cut it down by $12 a foot, you're paying $17 net effective. That's a big cost savings that people aren't necessarily aware of. So I think it's on trend, but it's challenging, right? You're not going to go out and build typically a 200,000 square foot office building, and your business plan is to fill it with 2,500 foot tenants.
I think the only office, you know, the Simone office properties that he built was specifically owner-user to, you know, that's
Montefiore.
to Montefiore. Okay, Montefiore signed the lease. They needed the space. Okay, Montefiore, their footprint has increased all over the borough, so they needed the additional space. And ambulatory care today is a very big item today in this situation. If you would be building something new in the Bronx, where would you like to be?
I would like to be Mott Haven. I think Mott Haven.
For my viewers, where is Mott Haven?
Mott Haven, it's definitely west of the major Deegan, from 138th down to, what would you say? 100.
The water. I would say all the way down to the water. I mean,
Down to the Triborough?
Right. It's between the Willis Avenue Bridge and the 3rd Avenue Bridge and the Deegan, that triangle there.
Okay, and the time into Manhattan by subway?
4 minutes, 6 minutes. I mean, it's quicker to walk. You could literally walk from the Bruckner building into Manhattan and be there in under 2 minutes if you want to walk over the bridge. I mean, it's that close.
Yeah.
But I think
I work at Grand Central. It takes me, I've timed it before. It's taken me exactly 15 minutes from my office on 42nd and Lexington to 3rd Avenue and 138th Street, right by your office.
I mean, Manhattan is an island into itself, as we all know, pardon the cliche. But New York City, the rivers have created and bridges have created a cultural divide, why does that happen, right? It's easier to get from points of downtown Brooklyn into Manhattan than it is from the Upper East Side to downtown Manhattan.
Or from the east side to the west side.
Right, exactly. So the rivers and bridges, I think, will change over time.
I think you bring up an interesting point. One of the best things that the de Blasio originally started by the Bloomberg administration were the ferries. And I believe the ferries are also helping all of the boroughs as well as the Bronx. So in summation, I think I have 3 positive individuals talking that there are opportunities in the Bronx. It's becoming more expensive to build. You're going to see more affordable. Hopefully the market rate housing will be at a price that could be reasonable, that the banks are going to be comfortable. And if we come back in 6 months, we'll talk more about it. I'd like to thank Jason Gold, Daren Hornig, and Ira Brown, and I'll see you next week.